Mathias Cormann is the Shadow Assistant Treasurer. He's with us now from Canberra. Senator Cormann, good morning to you. Firstly, tell us why the Coalition has decided to cut the company tax rate by 1.5% if you do win office.
Well, this is another important plank of our plan to create 1 million new jobs within 5 years. The other parts of that plan, of course, are our commitment to scrap the carbon tax by 1 July next year, to scrap the mining tax, to cut $1 billion of business red tape costs, to provide for a one-stop shop for environmental approvals, to, of course, re-establish the Australian Building and Construction Commission to boost productivity. So this is really just another plank of our plan to create 1 million new jobs within 5 years.
How will a company tax cut realistically help Australian business?
Well, it provides an incentive for additional investment at a time of economic uncertainty. And look no further than the Henry Tax Review, which pointed out that not only would a company tax cut boost growth, it of course would also lead to higher wages. Only 2 years ago, in the tax summit organised by this current government, Ken Henry, the former Secretary of the Treasury, pointed out that a company tax cut will deliver significant benefits for workers.
How much will the company tax cut cost?
Well, this is a policy which was fully costed by the Parliamentary Budget Office. It will start on 1 July 2015 and will cost $2.5 billion a year over the first 2 years, which is $5 billion over the forward estimates.
Right, and how is the Coalition funding that?
Well, I mean, our leader Tony Abbott and our Shadow Treasurer Joe Hockey will be making the formal policy announcement later today. And of course, between now and the election, we will be releasing our detailed costings as well as the net fiscal impact of all of our policy commitments so that people can be very clear and form a very clear judgment on how all of our policies are funded.
This company tax cut will apply to all business. It will offset the 1.5% tax increase proposed for the biggest companies to help pay for the Coalition's paid parental leave scheme. That leave scheme costs at least $4 billion. This company tax cut, as you've just told us, cost $5 billion. That's at least $9 billion worth of savings the Coalition has got to come up with. Can we expect to see the bulk of them announced today by Tony Abbott?
Well, we are committed to a fair dinkum paid parental leave scheme because it's an important economic reform. It will help boost productivity. It will help improve workforce participation by women. And of course, it will help us grow our economy more strongly. And the $5 billion cost of the company tax cut announced today is the direct cost. Over time, of course, we would expect that, among other things, through stronger economic growth, there will actually be some benefits to the budget bottom line over time as well. Now, in terms of the paid parental leave scheme, look, today we're announcing a 1.5% cut in the company tax rate from 1 July 2015. Between now and the election, of course, we will be making the formal announcement about the paid parental leave scheme as well.
Can we expect to see some savings measures announced today by Tony Abbott when he announces this cut to the company tax rate?
Well, as I've said, our company tax cut proposal, which we will be formally announcing today, has been fully costed by the Parliamentary Budget Office. Tony Abbott and Joe Hockey will be making all of the necessary announcements today. And of course, between now and the election, there will be a detailed fiscal overview listing all of the budget implications of our policies that we have announced, and it will be very clear what the net fiscal impact of our policy commitments is. And let me say that the budget position will be worse. The budget position would be worse off under Labor, will be better off under a coalition, because our policy commitments, of course, overall will leave the budget in a better position.
Joe Hockey, the Shadow Treasurer, has said yesterday that a rise in the GST is, in his words, in the equation should the Coalition win government. That's obviously a clear way to help make up some of these savings. How much in the equation is a rise in the goods and services tax?
Well, Joe Hockey has not said that. I was at that particular press conference. I mean, that was a report in today's media that was wrong. What we have said, of course, is that in the first term of a coalition government, should we be successful on September 7, we would start a conversation with the Australian people about our tax reform priorities over the medium to long term. And the need for tax reform, of course, remains strong. And of course, what we have said is that our focus will be on lower, simpler more efficient taxes. There is absolutely no plan to increase the rate or the base of the GST. If we are elected to government on 7 September, we will not be increasing the rate or the base of the GST. That is absolutely clear.
Right, but just to be clear, the Financial Review report, which you also cite, quotes Mr Hockey saying, quote unquote, it's part of the equation.
Well, I was in that press conference. Joe Hockey at no point suggested that that there was any prospect of the coalition in government pursuing an increase in the GST. What we have said is that in the first term of a coalition government, we will have a conversation with the Australian people about the need for tax reform over the medium and long term. And of course, whatever comes out of that tax reform process, whatever comes out of the white paper review process, we would take to the subsequent election for people to be able to pass judgment on.
And finally, the Victorian Coalition Treasurer, Michael O'Brien, Mathias Cormann, was also at a lunch yesterday, and he was bemoaning the lack of commitment to far-reaching industrial relations reforms by the Coalition if you do win government. Is that in the equation as well? And if not, why not? Because Michael O'Brien argues that is really what's needed to help improve business confidence.
We've released our workplace relations policy about 3 months ago. It is a very sensible policy which intends to take our workplace relations policy framework back to the centre. And of course, that is what people across Australia would expect us to do. There is no doubt that there are some problems with the workplace relations changes that were introduced by the current government. And of course, we will be addressing those problems as per the policy that we've announced 3 months ago.
OK, we'll leave it there. Mathias Cormann in Canberra, thanks for your time this morning.
Always good to be here.